Mrs. Barnstable.
What now, girl?
Is it true what they say in the village?
What do they say in the village?
Well, that the family is only after our mistress's money.
And who said that?
Well, the owner of the pub. He heard it from Father Henry.
That's rich, that is. We can thank that old goat, Father Henry, again. He's crazy and... mad. Keep plucking, girl! At least in this mansion, we're down to earth. At least in my kitchen, just look at the time. Still have to prepare the salmon soufflés, steam the lobsters, stuff the pheasants and set the table. So keep your questions until later, please. All right, girl. I suppose we can talk and work at the same time. The whole bloody family is after the money. Those darling old girls are blind as a bat. And worst of all, there's not one worth it. Do you hear me, Alice? Not one. All of them. Parasites. Hypocrites. Be very careful of those people, Alice. They look good, sound good, and they're respected everywhere. But that family is like a stillborn calf. Soft and smooth on the surface, but underneath, nothing but maggot-infested, rotting flesh.
This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions. Welcome to the Invasion of the Remake podcast. I am your host, Jason Bishop, and with me today, as always, is Sam Stepanenko.
I ain't mad. I really am.
And happy birthday to the birthday girl over in Vulcan, Alberta. Happy birthday, Trish.
Happy birthday, Trish.
Thank you.
And as tradition, I let them off the leash once a year for their birthdays to pick whatever they want. She threw 4 at us. We could have done a Hitchcock. We could have done
Richard Stanley.
We could have done... Well, there was one that had a whole bunch of remakes, so I nixed it myself. And then there's this one.
Yep.
We had quality, and then we got Rabid Grannies.
Yep.
Rabid Grannies from 1988. I had never heard of this. This is a Troma film. It was actually originally a French film, and then dubbed into English. It's kind of was done in the Italian way, where there was no real on-set audio done, and they were lip syncing to the English dialogue. Some people spoke English, and those that did dubbed themselves, and those that didn't just said it phonetically, and then the ADR actors had to come in and kind of match up to the really awkward
speech patterns. Yep.
Yep.
And it showed.
It certainly did. In fact, most of this movie does not really have professional actors in them. Most of them, this was it. This was their only credit.
I think out of the cast of 26, I only think 3 did anything else.
3 or 4, yeah. Tops. Some were in some good stuff.
Yes, we actually have a connection later.
Yeah, in fact, and there's a few that just like, they were working actors, but they're not going to be in anything you'll recognize unless you live in France.
Yeah, watch a lot of French television.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of French television in those few who did continue their careers.
I think this was shot in Holland?
Belgium.
That was it, Belgium.
Yeah.
Where, they spoke French or German.
Yep.
Basically...
Yes, please give us a plot synopsis.
And Trish's glee is actually offending me at the moment.
Okay, my first beef, this is very similar to Chopping Mall, where there was no chopping whatsoever. This is Rabid Grannies. there is no rabies, and they're not grannies. They're aunts.
Yes.
And they are possessed by demons.
Yes.
So this should be called demonic aunties.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Or possessed aunties.
Or, yeah.
Or anti-possession.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Anti-possession.
Like
Might
a
have
play
a
on words there.
wiener there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so anti-possession has been retitled anti-possession.
And we can do that. It's a remake.
We're doing it. This is our first thing. We're only like a couple minutes in, and we've already retitled the movie. So this is about two aunts. It's their birthday. They're twin aunts, and their family has come to join them. The family sucks. They're all basically putting in time. They are the heirs to the fortune. They're all in the will, except for one guy we never see. But it's the one name we all know because it's really hard to catch a name in here if you're watching the Troma cut on Tubi, like we all did. And then Sam and I wound up having to go fishing for a longer cut just to figure out who anybody was.
Yes.
Oh, I did online research and came across this weird blog which helped me fill in the blanks of who was who.
Well, that might have been easier because Sam and I watched it twice.
So happy birthday, Trish.
Yeah, this is the work we put in. This is the suffering we put in. Yeah. Your birthday is
I can
painful.
only get you once a year. That's the thing.
These remake episodes, we're only supposed to have to watch one movie. Not watch the same movie twice like we do on the other episodes. But we had to do it this time.
Not since the night to December have we had so much suffering.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say is, Sam, now we're even for
Yeah, I suppose.
I will never bring it up again. We are now even.
If you're not sure what she's referring to, Trish would remind the audience of your trauma. Because this will be the last time you bring it up.
Yes. Liquid Sky was something that Sam brought to us. And honestly, it sounded like an interesting film. But, oh, sweet Lord. The great thing about this movie that I made you guys watch, there isn't constant synth music through every single frame of the film, which is nice.
It might have made it better.
No. I still like some of the gore and I have ideas. There's opportunities here. Honestly, because I watched the shorter cut, I rounded it out a lot easier because I wasn't held back by anything else.
Yes, like plot.
Yes.
Yeah. I will say watching it the second time gave me an idea for more plot or for more depth to it.
Yeah, yes. I mean, if you watch the Troma cut, they cut a lot of this out, the character development, so you don't know who anybody even is for the most part. You're picking names here and there, and everybody's come to this mansion for their birthdays, except for this one guy, Christopher, because he's been written out of the will, and he sent a really nice letter with a fuck you box.
Yep.
Yeah. And he was also a Satanist.
He was a Satanist, and he'd been arrested for running a cult or something and spent 10 months in jail or whatever. And he sent a little box with some smoke in it, and the smoke gets into the wine got into the ladies, and the ladies got possessed really fast.
Yeah.
Very, very fast. There was no messing around. It was a dinner table massacre. Ooh, another good title.
Yes.
Ooh. Yeah, but only one person actually died at the dinner table.
Yeah, I suppose it was.
We'll keep shopping.
I'm still leaning towards anti-possession, though.
Yeah, that's not bad. Not bad at all. And that's basically the gist of the plot. The Troma cut, we get thrown in. There's a little bit of dialogue in the kitchen about the family wanting the fortune and just putting in the time, and they're all weasels and shitheads.
Yeah, and having watched the 90-minute version, the full-length version, that scene makes a lot more sense when you finally do see it in the full-length version. I'm like, what am I watching the first time I saw it? I'm like, wow.
Yeah, there's a little more setup with the characters. Yeah. Like that scene happens at 2 minutes in the Troma cut, and it's about 5 minutes into.
Yeah, and you've already seen some of the family, and you've seen Percival. I think was where they opened the. Yeah,
you see Harvey, Trish. Harvey is an arms dealer.
Yes, that one just comes out of frickin' nowhere. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, and that just feeds my idea for this film.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. Why is he looking for money? He's an arms dealer. He should be fucking loaded.
Well, and Fred owns, like, a corporation, a successful corporation, but he's still looking for more money.
Yeah, Roger, he's a bit of a rich playboy. He had got a lot of money from his mom and he blew through it all. That was his backstory. So that's why he's after the fortune, is he needs to refuel his lifestyle.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's a cad.
Yeah. Some people they're just married to the greedy relative, right? They're just like, whatever.
Yeah, like the one woman who is saying, I don't regret marrying Fred.
Yeah.
Apropos of nothing.
And it makes way more sense if you watch the 90-minute version, because there's a discussion with them between the two of them in the car that gives that context.
Yeah, because she really does.
Yeah.
And then it comes up when people are getting a little loaded at the table and she's backtracking.
It does fill out the film, and some of the dialogue makes more sense having watched the full-length version. I'm not saying it's any better.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I compare this a lot to A Night to Dismember, where you had this complete re-edit of Doris Wishman's movie by herself, even, that was completely nonsensical, even though she even reshot some stuff. And then you watch the original cut, and it does make sense. They're still terrible, but at least you have context. Yeah. And this movie, the Troma version, has a cult following similar to A Night to Dismember because people kind of enjoy the nonsensical way it watches. Mm-hmm. And I'll admit, in the first go-round watching the Troma cut, I had a few gut laughs. There's just a few lines that were just hilarious.
And they're actually funnier out of context.
Yeah, I agree. I bust a gut when Fred's like, listen, lesbians. I don't know why I found that funny, but it was really funny.
There's one kill that freaking gave me so many giggles. One of the grannies ends up in a suit of armor, which I kind of want to keep because I think that's hilarious.
It is hilarious, yes.
And she grabs the arms dealer and she's got him kind of pierced on the top of this axe and just tosses him down the stairs.
And keep in mind, he's been pierced right in between the giblies.
In the scrotum.
Yeah, he's already had his limbs cut off. Then he's been mounted on this pike and tossed across the castle. They're strong and they're malleable, and even if they take damage, it's temporary. It's not a big deal. It's just all
they grow back everything.
Yeah, and that's another scene that gave me sort of the thought that originally I think this film was written fairly well, because if his death was on an axe by somebody wearing armor, so it has to do with his sins, right, with his guilt. And then there's another scene where she's talking to, I think it's Father Sebastian, where she's talking about how he enjoys when he's whacking the kids on the hands with the ruler.
Oh, Percival.
Percival, yes.
Father Percival.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is, I'm getting into the remake territory, but what I'm thinking is...
You already demons, renamed it.
Yeah, the demons are there to punish them for their sins.
Oh, yeah, that was sort of what... with the Troma cut, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Their avarice, their particular individual sinful ways of being have to be targeted.
Yeah, which is perfect because Christopher was ostracized for his sins.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right. I mean, and his motives are very simple. He's out of the will. If I can't have it, nobody else will either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take away all the heirs.
Yeah.
And then he might get it by default.
Yeah. And let those who have not sinned be judged, that kind of thing, right? It's like, well, you all sin.
Well, I have the one idea where it was the woman, again, I have it written down sort of. I think I have the right name. Jessica?
She got us,
Jessica is the spoiled wife. I had a whole kind of backstory where, you know how she says, I don't regret marrying Fred. She does, and she's secretly seeing Christopher, and she brings the box. We don't need the old lady there.
Ooh, I like that change already, yeah.
Because, I mean, that would make sense because she wants the money. She's not really interested in her husband, but, I mean, yeah, she gets a good bang with Christopher. She gets the money. It all works out in her head.
In her head, but she's, I think she was one of the first victims.
And when she sings, she's the singer. When she sings, it activates the box.
Oh,
that's interesting.
It could be like the key to open the box. Yeah,
yeah. If Christopher teaches her that song, that's a specific key to the box. So there's a little more like a ritual to activate the demons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be a recognizable song. And then you could actually have the aunties going, "This is beautiful. What is this song?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it riles them up. I mean, I kind of figured this was similar to a Dybbuk box, but yeah, it's nice to be able to put a little lore to that. And yeah, I like the idea of these ironic deaths around their sins.
Yeah, well, and they're not even ironic;
Yes.
they're planned, right? Is the demons seek out their deepest, darkest secrets?
Yeah, well, that's their power,
Yeah.
right? They can dive into their heads and use that against them
Yeah.
because
Well,
they make Percival commit suicide.
yeah, and it was to say they don't actually know. They treat the
They're
Andes
the
as,
Antes,
as
right?
oblivious, right? But it just shows that they really do know how evil their family is.
Well, I mean, the cook tells that opening story about the family and that the aunties are completely oblivious and they don't really only see the best in their family. And maybe that's something we can play with a little bit somewhere with dialogue or a separate scene where they do recognize, but this is the family that they're stuck with, and they do recognize, and they have this deep wish that they could fix their family and with genuine emotional attachments rather than just avarice.
Yes. Well, and that doesn't even have to be a separate scene. It could be just added dialogue to a scene at some point when the demon's saying, "We've always known how rotten you all are. You're rotten to the core. We always wanted to give you another chance, but you guys just never seemed to understand that we wanted to be with you for you, not because of what you wanted."
Well, I think what the demons that are pulled out, like, it's the darker side of these aunties that they repress, right? Yes, they have the anger, they are aware of it, but their good nature just buries that inside, and they try to pull out the best that they can. This box is pulling out all that hatred and all that vitriol that has been buried there, and the demons are giving it form.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah.
Nice. Yes. I like that idea because the one auntie's talking about we should learn to forgive. Like they're just way too forgiving. They're too hopeful in these kind of spoiled brats.
They are very hopeful.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, but now we've switched gears and to teach a lesson. And I mean, horror needs that moral something in there. That's that underlying theme. And it's a very simple one in this one, but I feel like the movie doesn't give it the depth it needs. And if you make those ironic deaths and you point that out a little bit,
or karmic
more,
deaths even.
Karmic deaths. Like that's what that setup stuff should show you even a little bit more than even the producer cut did, is to show you some of those scenes. You don't have to have everybody, because Trish missed the scene where Roger sleeps with the young lesbian.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, the only boobies we get too. You got cut out of yours.
Yeah.
So Roger, when I said he's living a Playboy lifestyle, he really is.
Yeah.
He's just banging his way, and we can have him maybe spending his money on drugs and hookers and all sorts of stuff. Like, he blows his money fast.
Yeah, and he's also the youngest of the family too. Like,
Sure.
He's quite visibly younger than the rest of them.
Yeah, no, he is a little shithead. He's got the sports car. He runs Bertha off the road, who's cycling in, and she lives a very matrony life.
That was Alice. He ran off the road.
That was Bertha.
No, it was Bertha.
It's Bertha.
That's Bertha?
He actually says her name. That was why it was one of the few names we pick up, because Alice is already in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's what I was confused why she was right beside the road. Now it makes more sense.
Yeah, that was Bertha.
I was kind of hoping Alice would have lasted longer. I sort of had the feeling she was supposed to, but then she's like one of the first ones killed.
Yeah, she was killed pretty early on.
No, she's about midway. I mean, there are 12.
Depends on the version that you watch.
There are 12 deaths in this movie.
Yeah.
The body count is vast. We've got head chomping, we've got arm removals, we've got all sorts of body dismemberment. I feel like I'm suddenly Joe Bob. I should be putting food on the end of this, but he's more practiced at that, and I'm not going to steal his gimmick.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of good stuff. The special effects guy was only 18 when he made this thing.
He did a great job. That was the highlight of this movie for me, was how well the practical effects were handled.
Yeah. Yeah, I do highly recommend people actually physically watch at least the trailer. Trailers are the best part, and I'm going to play you the audio part right now.
Grandma, what big eyes you have. Grandma, what big teeth you have. Grandma, what a big mouth you have. Oh, goody, goody, we're taking a trip to Granny's house. She and her sister are having a birthday party. Isn't that nice?
Perhaps it is time to open up our presents.
But be careful, because someone has sent these two sweet old ladies a very nasty present. now, these grannies have gone berserk. So you better not eat your chicken soup.
At least they're enjoying themselves this year.
Rabid Grannies.
They don't exist. They exist.
They're not just grannies, they're party animals, ready to get down. Get funky, get wasted. Rabid Grannies. Granny serving up something special for dinner. You. Rabid Grannies from Troma.
All right, that was the trailer for Rabid Grannies from 1988, written and directed by Emmanuel Curvin. And this stars a whole lot of people you're not going to know, so I'm going to save my tongue the effort. Most of them only ever had one credit, but I will mention a handful here. Catherine A. Mary Helen, she went on to do a nice long career and had lots of French roles. Eli Lyson was John, also had a decent career, along with Guy Van Reed, who played Fred. Both had good careers. Both were in episode 30.
Well, they were both in the Nikita version of La Femme Nikita.
Yes, La Femme Nikita.
Yeah.
You could have just said La Femme Nikita because the other one's called Point of No Return.
Yes. Yes, I could have.
Nobody would have got confused at all. We did that comparison. We haven't done a ton of French films, but we got a handful.
Yep.
You know, we got more than 5, I think.
Yeah, we did 2 in one episode.
We did Lots of Tal. Yeah, we've done...
The girl in the car with the glasses. That one.
Yes.
Yeah. That was fairly recent, too.
Yeah.
La Femme Nikita, of course.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting that
Taxi.
one. Taxi, Stallone, the Stallone one.
Oscar.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a few. I really like the French version of Oscar.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's our connections there. I think I'm going to skip by everybody else.
Because they were only in one thing.
This
Yes.
is pretty much it for them. And I can understand why, because nobody got paid. To this day, nobody's been paid. And
Oh, my.
I will disappoint the audience right now. Will be our most theoretical remake because this will never be remade. There was a sequel planned with Bertha, because spoiler at the end of this movie, she's not herself. And it sets up a sequel quite nicely. But nobody got paid, so there's lawsuits involved. And till that's all settled, most of these people will be probably dead by then.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, it's almost 40 years, because 35 years this year since this film came out. So yeah, if it's gone on that long, wouldn't count on any.
No. And until that's sorted, I mean, to this day, nobody's been paid. So that kind of sucks. And if your first outing, you get a picture that's released and even picked up by a distributor with Troma, and still nobody got paid, that's a shame.
Yep. And I understand lawsuits in that case.
Yeah, and the director was disappointed too when he actually saw his movie because he had come to the States and delivered it to Troma. And then by the time he got to see it, he saw all these cuts got made because he went back to France and he couldn't stay. He couldn't afford to stay. And went back, and then he sees the version that they made and it's like, I didn't authorize these cuts. This isn't my movie.
They cut 21 minutes out of his movie.
Yeah, that's a lot out of an hour and a half movie.
Yeah.
It's a short movie with those cuts.
Yeah,
it's a very short movie.
They cut a full third of the film out.
I'm going to say, though, the 68-minute felt longer than the 91.
I have to agree.
Because I felt more invested in the 90-minute. Because I actually knew who the characters were now. And I knew a little bit about their backstory.
And what little nuance there is to the film was a lot more apparent.
Yeah.
It gets buried really quickly in the gore and the bad acting.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What's left in the Troma cut is an unintelligible mess that kind of just watches like a special effects reel. And I should have looked up the special effects team to see what they went on to next, because they hopefully are still working, and because that was a great reel for them, if nothing else.
If nothing else.
Oh, yeah. Just the grannies' heads were great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the transformations.
The regrowing of the hands, which was hilarious.
Yeah, the guts pouring out, the dismemberments. Like, they knew a lot of the tricks when they went in, And for being so young, they did a pretty darn good job. We've watched lots of horror, low budget horror, and I've seen
more modern stuff that isn't that well done.
Yeah.
If you want to watch it for that, for no other reason, then watch the 61-minute version. But if you want to understand what's going on, then watch the producer's cut, I think is what they call it.
Yeah, it's called the producer's cut, and you can watch the 67-minute version on Tubi right now, which is the original Troma cut, and the gore's all intact there. But the subplots, the character development's
They're
all
gone.
gone. It's unintelligible. The video quality is a lot darker.
It's bad.
And the audio is horrendous. I had to put on subtitles with people speaking English because I could just,
Yes.
about halfway through, I just gave up. And then I watched the YouTube version and I didn't have any problem understanding it. They had fixed the audio on it. They'd brightened up those
They'd
weird
remastered the video or
scenes.
something.
Yeah, so everything looks a lot brighter and you can catch that on YouTube. Do I recommend you do it at all?
With friends.
Yeah, with friends. I mean, it could be a really fun movie to watch. Like I said, there's some times where I was busting a gut. And if you want the nonsensical one, I mean, it can be fun at times. I did laugh more there. But I did wind up finding the 91-minute version far more engaging.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Yeah.
Which is what we're going to do. We're going to get the backstory. We're going to make it make more sense. It's going to happen.
It doesn't need a lot, even. That's the funny thing.
No, I mean, there wasn't a lot to begin with. You got those subplots and little bits of everybody acting a little shitty to each other or just in secret. Like Bertha's pitched as this 40-year-old virgin, essentially. She's riding her bike. She's one of the few that comes alone. And she's, like I said, very matrony. But at the dinner table, she's doing the fake tears and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And later, she kind of, like, for the most of the movie, she's kind of cowering and just barely holding it together. And then she kind of finds her strength near the end. But she's so shitty at the beginning that I didn't...
Well, and she's missing for so much of the movie. That was probably my biggest complaint about this movie because there were so many people in it. Like for like 20 minutes, you don't see anybody except for Helen and Erica themselves out in the hallways looking for Rachel, I think is the daughter.
The daughter
Susie.
Susie, sorry.
The kids are Gilbert and Susie.
Susie, yeah. And when they go to look for Susie, so and there's quite a bit of time spent with them. And it's like there's other people in the house and you have no idea what's going on with them.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty tragic and scary scene, really.
Yeah.
Susie's been lured to this kind of playroom in the mansion where Granny's kind of reverted back to how she would normally look. And she's like, oh, can we play? Oh, honey, we've been playing this whole time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, no. And we don't see it. The kill happens off camera, but this little girl, she gets her legs torn off and the other granny's up in the chandelier playing with one of the legs and the other one got tossed down the stairs for her mom to find and lure them upstairs. It's awful and it drives mom mad.
Which is, and again, that comes back to one of those karmic deaths or ironic deaths. Susie's death isn't, but what it does to her mother is karmic and ironic because she's not kind to her children.
No, she tries to be, but she doesn't really understand. Like the children are kind of props to her, if anything.
Exactly.
Well, there is some realization that happens, and I agree, at least at the start, but there is an argument between her and John being a bit of a coward, and they both like, hey, we need to stop arguing and find our kids. Yeah. You go look because John's the coward.
Yeah.
So she's the one that steps up, and you're right, I got to go find my kids.
Yeah, and that's shows a strength of character for her.
Well, Gilbert's already there, but
yeah, he is. But there's an irony there too because of what happens with Gilbert's doppelganger, if you want to call it that, once they escape from the aunties. And I think that goes back to that sort of the karmic / ironic moments in this film. Until that moment when she goes to look up for Susie, she doesn't really seem to think an awful lot of her children.
Yeah. I mean, boy, Susie's gone for a good long while. Yeah. She gets up from dinner to go to the bathroom and has no idea any of this shit has gone on at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a good, 20 minutes later. But
her mother realizes it. And then she actually says it's been 20 minutes. It doesn't take 20 minutes to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
They're barricaded in a room, and it takes her that long to be like, oh, we're barricaded in a room. Oh, wait, I do have another child.
Yeah, and
It's like she literally forgets she exists.
the movie actually seems to recognize its own problem. Sam actually figured this out too, is like characters disappears because there's so goddamn many of them.
Yeah.
Like you've got a family of 4, you've got the 2 lesbians. I'll call them the 2 lesbians because Fred so eloquently points it out. Yeah. Then we got Fred and then his, I'm not even sure if they're married.
They're married,
yeah, young bride, a lot younger than him.
Jessica.
Okay, Jessica. Erica's one of the lesbians, and I don't remember the other one.
She's the blonde where he says that he calls a lesbian.
Rachel, I think, is the other one.
Erica's the older one.
Yeah, I'm still confused because I.
Oh, it's hard to unravel.
Yeah, it's lots of characters. There's Radu the butler, Alice the maid,
Mrs. Barnstable.
Oh, is that the cook? Oh, you got the name. Yeah. I didn't get the name.
Yeah, we just call her the cook.
We just call her the cook. Let's see. There's the Father Percival, who's a pretty shitty priest. He prays a lot, but I don't think he believes in any of it. And he's probably a bigger coward than John, and very selfish and
cruel.
Mean to the children. Yeah. And he's a cruel, cruel man. There's John. John's the father of the kids.
Yeah, there's John.
Yeah. I think there's Harvey. I don't know if he came. Did he come alone? Harvey's the arms dealer.
Yeah, he came alone.
Okay.
Yeah, for a while there, I thought Harvey and Bertha were together, and then I realized it wasn't until later on that I realized they weren't.
No, yeah, Bertha is separate.
And there's a bunch of characters that you don't really get names for. Like there's an older sister, cousin at the dining room table. She's the one who gets killed.
Yeah,
first.
The proper British answer are some of the best queens.
Yeah,
Elizabeth and Victoria.
Yeah, Elizabeth and Victoria Remington.
Yes, I feel like I'm still missing. And then, of course, the 2 kids. Yeah. Well, I said the family of 4, so.
John, Bertha, Rogers, the Playboy.
But the film has 26 listed cast members.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, about 18 of them are family.
Yeah, there are 12 kills, one of them being the cab driver near the end, so 11 that are family.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the cook and Alice.
So 9 that are family.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I only remember 3 members of the family surviving. Bertha, Helen. Was it Helen?
Helen was the one who went with the parents.
Yeah, Helen went crazy.
Yeah, Helen went crazy. She survives but gets hauled off. And then I think Gilbert.
No, the quote-unquote lesbian, she survives.
And the lesbian, that's right.
And Bertha.
The young lesbian. Yeah, well, I said Bertha, the lesbian, Helen, and Gilbert. 4.
Okay. I think it's Rachel, the young lady.
Okay.
Erica was
I never caught her name. Cousin. I remember Erica saying, this is the cousin. I remember Erica calling her Angel, but I didn't see anybody name it on the cast Angel, so it was just a pet name, so I went with Angel. Yeah.
There you go.
That's how I did it. Yeah.
It's so hard. Honestly, there was a point where I was digging so hard and I wasn't getting anywhere. I was real close to just be saying dark-haired wife. Light-haired wife.
Oh, if I hadn't discovered the YouTube one, that's how I would have done it.
Yeah, I would have just gone like 5 women, 5 men.
Yeah,
older people, younger people.
Like I would have had characters like priest, cook, maid.
Yeah,
2 grannies,
and I probably still have some of them wrong, but
yeah, I know I got a couple names wrong on my list, but whatever.
Yeah. I had one flipped for sure, and then it just took me a while to get through.
Yeah, there's one while I was recording the clips before the show that I realized I got mixed up the name wrong. So, hey, Sam.
Yeah.
The names are so screwed up, you might get them right.
I might get them right.
Yeah. Well, honestly, let's be honest here. It doesn't matter.
No.
Because they're kind of caricatures.
Yeah.
So we could name them whatever the hell we want.
Yeah. And that's I think the secret of this is to give them a little more development, but you can't waste any time doing it either. This movie's primarily about the kills and not so much about the lesson. And we need to just push that forward just a touch more by showing the sins of these people early, either through backstory, flashback, or present day actions.
Yes, like or through dialogue, like they did with Father Percival, and they talk about how much he enjoyed slapping the hands of children and stuff like that. Like that was great.
Well, and then he's at the dinner table and he's going to stab a kid with a fork.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a dick.
Yeah, and little things like that just show how the face that they put on isn't the person that they are.
Yeah, it's all about being two-faced.
Yeah.
This whole movie, really, I mean, and technically the grannies too.
Yeah.
Everybody's got two faces in this.
Except for the cook and Alice.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
But, Alice is new to the mansion, and the cook has got all the secrets.
Yep. And then Radu's the Lurch Igor character.
Yeah, he's the butler who's kept a blind eye, and I guess in a way he slips on a piece of gore from
Liver.
Yeah, the liver.
It was a piece of liver.
Was it a piece of liver? So he slips on a piece of liver that the granny tossed, and then gets cut.
Goes through the window.
Goes through the window, throat cut or whatever. I think the glass should go through his eye because he kept a blind eye on everything. I think that would have been the ironic death there. But the maid went the similar way.
Exactly.
She went through the window too.
Right, exactly, because the aunties didn't want to kill them the way they wanted to kill their family because they weren't guilty of anything except for being present. With Radu, there's a certain amount of guilt on his part because to a certain extent, he should have been helping to protect the aunties too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, in a way, the cook is two-faced as well.
Yeah.
Because she's like, hey, these are our employers. And what did you hear?
Yeah.
They just don't talk ill of our... And then she spills the beans anyway. She's very much a gossip.
Yeah.
And she literally had her face torn off.
Yeah.
We don't see that kill, but we see the result of that kill.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it does kind of reference the whole two-facedness of the whole film, yes.
Mhm.
Is that a word? Two-facedness?
Yeah,
It is now.
she sets it all up. Now that we're talking about it, there's actually a lot of depth to this movie that's,
Yeah.
I didn't
gets
actually see until we start saying it out loud.
Yeah, and it's because it gets lost in the poor, I hate to say it, poor filmmaking, or I don't mind saying it actually, in the poor filmmaking, the poor acting, and then the butchering that it got in the editing room.
Oh yeah, I mean you don't get any of that subtext at all in the Troma cut.
No.
It's all about just the kills.
Yeah.
I was just trying to extrapolate. I was making my own little subplots all over the place while I was watching that just to try and make sense of it.
The first time I watched it, I was trying to make sense of who the characters were. I mean, as much as I didn't want to watch it again, I'm glad I did because it did allow me to see what this film could have been.
It does feel like this writer-director was a fan of Evil Dead. Like it has that kind of whimsical, fun, but mean-spirited nature to it that an Evil Dead Army of Darkness has, at least with the Deadites, where, they're laughing at you while doing something horrific.
The ants are taunting them all over the place.
Yes.
It's definitely there.
Yeah, and I think that if there had been more experience from the filmmaker, more money to make the film, and if Troma hadn't tried to traumatize it,
Traumatize it.
that was a choice.
I know, but I'm like, that's great. I can't believe it hasn't been done before. Are you traumatized?
Very much so. But yeah, I think if they hadn't have done that, I think that this film might have had a better reception. We'd actually have heard of it. Because it has a lot of great key elements that just get lost in the mess.
Oh, absolutely. Like use of the estate. That's kind of the other thing I kind of want to do with this film is make use of this vast house and the hallways and like the escaping. Because I mean, you have the one guy who's trying to get out the coal chute and he's too fat and he gets eaten away.
Well, Roger takes a hidden area that he used to go out into town and go meet girls and stuff and bring them back to the mansion. So there is that. They actually do give you more. I don't know if that was in the Troma cut. It all starting to blend together, but
there's a bit of it, but it's like it's very quick and you don't see much of it because the Troma cut is so badly lit. I didn't see much.
And we should get a nice loving tour of this mansion early on, like see it from the outside as people are arriving, not just in the tighter shot of the gate, but just something a little more wider to establish what this thing looks like. And add a little more character, just a slight bit of gothicness to it all.
Yes.
That gate, I would have liked to have like maybe metal roses and stuff jutting out. So when that poor woman gets crushed by the car on the gate, you're really seeing what could be piercing her long before that ever happens.
Yeah. And when I saw that scene the first time, I was expecting it to be like La Troma does, incredibly gory, like with her getting pushed in through the gate in pieces. Like I was waiting for it. I'm like, I can't wait to see how they did this. And then they didn't.
Well, I mean, keeping in mind, this was just a distribution pickup.
Yeah.
Like, Troma had nothing to do with the making of this.
I know, and I understand that, but at the same time, I was still expecting it.
Yeah, of course.
Once you see the name Troma, your brain goes, like when Bertha's riding along the road, I expected just a horrible, gory death right out the gate.
The name Troma does lend itself to some expectations, and is clearly what they were trying to meet with that edit that they did. But film watchers still want something they can follow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe Troma did put some money into this, and that's why they thought they could do whatever they wanted with it. But yeah, it's hard to say. I did try to reach out to Troma for insights, and I got nothing. So
they probably went, "Oh, that one lawsuits. We can't talk about it."
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch. You know what? 2 weeks they'll respond. It was like, "Oh yeah, we already did that. Thanks."
Well, if we happen to get a response, we'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they do get to us, who knows? But yeah. But like we say, plots and characters, really good. Keep you engaged. Like you said, the longer cut was more engaging because you had more of an idea.
We had something to grab onto in terms of the characters.
I mean, I didn't know all the characters, even in the longer cut. I really had no idea who Fred was, other than the fat bastard.
Well, he was he was the greedy businessman. He wanted the money so that he could buy out his competitors.
Yeah, what was his business?
It didn't matter.
No.
Apparently not.
Yeah, it didn't really matter in context of who he was. It's just that he was one of those rich people who wasn't content with what he had.
Yeah, that's the thing about this. It seems like most of these people have money. They're either squandering it or just want more of it.
Right.
And
or in the case of Percival, he has his piety, but that's not really who he is.
No.
Right. He still wants the wealth.
Yeah, he wants what everybody else has got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Bertha's motivation was, to be honest with you.
I think she wants to be independent and have wealth. I gave myself my own backstory with her, where it's because she's so old and mousy. Her idea was like, if I have money, then I can get married because somebody will marry me for my money.
And that could be part of it because she is very pious. Right?
Yeah, like she won't just have a boyfriend. She has to marry.
Yeah, she's a Mrs. Grundy. She's the one who looks in people's windows and judges them.
Yeah, well, and I think she just didn't develop in the same way, develop that independence like everybody else did. I mean, she's cycling to the estate, which means she doesn't live that far away.
Yeah.
I mean, it could still be a couple of miles, but it's enough to cycle in. So if she's living on their land and their money already and trying to gain favor by staying close and helping to take care of them.
Yeah, and I was going to say...
giving up everything else to do so.
Yeah, I like her to be the only one who sees them more than once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one who checks in on them and makes sure that they're healthy. They have servants, but she likes to take them out for market trips or something like that. Like she's the one who's there, right?
Yeah.
And that's why she hates everybody else, because they show up once a year for the birthday to do a showing.
And then that could be why she's so antagonistic
towards everybody.
Well, no, specifically Roger, and Roger vice versa, because Roger treats her like a joke, but he's also the one that got out. Like, he went out and had fun and did everything that
she's the oldest responsible one, right?
And she's the older responsible one, but he saw the world and he's lived a, sinful life, as Sam would say, but he's got these sins. But he took his money and spent that fortune on just having fun, whether it was healthy or not. But it's the life she kind of coveted, dreamed about, just to get away from all of this.
She dreams about the freedom of it, maybe not the life itself, but the freedom of
that money will grant. And once those ladies are dead, hell, we could even have her plotting their death.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, you could have a bit of dialogue where she's trying to talk them into taking everybody else out of the will. Yeah,
there could be all these little, before the dinner of everybody having a moment, trying to have a private moment with the grannies, the aunts,
for sure,
and trying to sway their favor.
Exactly. Like, you don't even have to have a scene. You could just have the cook gossiping about how that Bertha, she tried to talk the aunties to getting everybody out of the will.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is another thing I kind of was thinking as well. Like, when you want them to have their own little conversations, I mean, the only gift they get is from Christopher.
Well,
everybody just shows up.
No,
so if you have them...
That's not true. They are actually, in the 90-minute cut, there's a whole bunch of presents. They actually have they have a presents, like, okay, let's bring the presents to the table. Yeah. And there's a little bit more of that going on before we get to Christopher's present. So that's just something to get was cut.
I was thinking that like that's what they would use as the opportunity to get them alone and be like, "Here's your present, Auntie."
Yeah, we can actually we can move that to before the dinner scene.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well. Here's your gift to aunties, and we love you so much, and we're so happy to be here on your special day.
Yeah,
yeah. And aren't I the favorite? And then they'll just casually mention, we need to do this stuff, but if only we had the money.
Yeah, exactly. Life is good, but the house is in a bit disrepair. We don't have the money.
Yeah. Well, and
everybody's swaying for a little bit of piece of that pie.
Well, at the dinner party, they're so transparent about the will and what they're expecting, right?
They're all like bickering in front of the aunties like they can't hear them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that just goes to show that, the aunties do know exactly who these people are.
Oh, it just occurred to me, too. With Helen, like we're talking about, she doesn't really care about her kids. Part of it is, like, she'll go with the aunties, like, well, we need to send them to special schools. We need to do this. Like, she's looking to them. She's using her children as bait to get money from the aunties.
Yeah.
Send them away so I don't have to deal with them.
Yeah, but be like, oh, this isn't for me, Auntie. It's for the kids. You have to give us all this money.
Yeah. And that's really where all the changes need to happen in this movie is the characters, their motivations, and you want to define what their nasty little personalities are like. So we get a beat on their sins and what their ironic death might be. Yeah. And this movie does the death and gore pretty well.
It does. And there's so many great opportunities for them to do that because there's these scenes where where they're alone in rooms a lot together and they're mostly just shouting at each other where you could change that to them making accusations at each other for the horrible things that they do and the horrible people that they are.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit where they're starting to call each other out. It's like, hey, this is not the time you need to, man up or woman up and do the right thing. And that's, like I said, we have that moment with the mother who goes out to find her kid, but we need a little bit more of that. Yes. I guess, Fred reluctantly goes with the second group to find a way out and when he gets stuck in that coal chute. Yeah. So we do see some turns. John finds his courage and sacrifices himself just to give Bertha more time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Bertha has this not great plan of destroying the box, but doing it in the church because we already know like crosses and holy water don't really work on them. She's kind of hoping that the church will
But
have
she
that
doesn't
little
know.
extra. No, she wasn't there for any of that. She doesn't know.
Yeah.
So, really, I don't think doing it in the church did anything. These ladies were so rich that they had their own church in their castle. But destroying the box did cast out the demons of these old ladies, and they have to live with the fact that they just slaughtered their whole family because they're still fine. And I like that they're giving the cops one for just they're not taking their shit.
I know people in high places.
Yes.
It's sort of it's very funny.
Yeah. I think we've kind of got that. Unless you got some creative kills you want to do, we can move on to casting.
I think most of the kills were apropos for the character.
Yeah.
Right?
That could be some redefining of character. If you find there's somebody that doesn't work, we could have a different kill that's a little more ironic. Well, but I liked most of that part.
I think Rogers was the only one that didn't really fit his sins. But I don't know what you do there.
Well, the ants can transform back into themselves.
Yeah, the ants.
What makes you think, and they can do voices, what makes you think they can't transform into seductress?
Yeah. Well, they could transform into a small child.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
We saw them change into small Gilbert. So
yeah,
that's clearly something they could do. So doing a seductress moment might be something they could do because we could maybe have one of them posing as the lesbian that he had sex with at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, and you know what? So she dies before then, and that could work.
Well, she didn't die.
Yes, she did.
Well,
she
no. Here's the deal.
The young lesbian survives.
The young lesbian. You remove the sex scene with her before he tries it on with her. She rejects him. So when she shows up as all hot to go, he falls for it.
Yeah,
that might work.
Yeah. So who was the blonde who died up against the fence then? I'm really confused.
Oh, that's Jessica. She's the spoiled wife who doesn't regret marrying.
Okay, they look so similar. I got them mixed up.
There were too many blondes in this movie, and I may have aggravated the problem in my casting now that I think about it.
Yeah. Well, before I knew who Helen was, I put brunette wife.
Yeah. Thank you for being a brunette. Yeah, the problem is when they don't name them and then you're going through the cast list and nobody has photos. You can't match anybody.
And you can't click on the name to find out if there's any dialogue lines that you can use as reference. Like it was hard.
Yeah. No, this was definitely one of the hardest movies we researched. Thank God that 90-minute version existed. Yeah. It saved me a whole lot of time.
And I did it without it. It does get a lot harder. I dug deep to find something that would help me.
Oddly enough, casting this was pretty fun, though.
I had a little bit of fun, too, yeah.
I mean, knowing full well that this will never happen. I just went, fuck it, I'm stunt casting the shit out of this.
I went for it.
Yeah.
I totally went for it.
Oh, I still had a bit of a dream when I did my casting.
Well, watching this kind of felt to me like an Edgar Wright movie, like his early stuff when he did Shaun of the Dead, where he could do gory, he could do funny, and still have a heartfelt story. And finding that balance, I think like he was the guy that would really work. So thinking on that ways kind of informed my casting. Yeah. All right. Well, since I got the ball rolling.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee I didn't cast everybody because names I forgot and
or didn't catch
or whatever, but I got a lot of them. So as we know, my director is Edgar Wright, and for my stars, arguably would be the Antis here. And what do we name our movie again?
Anti-Possession.
Oh, Anti-Possession.
Yeah. So far.
Anti-Possession. All right. It's like anti-pasta. Anti-Possession. Okay.
Anti-possession.
All right. Well, my two elderly aunties, I'm going for it. If they got queens, I got queens too. Maggie Smith and Judi Dench. Both names.
Nice.
I was thinking Helen Mirren and Judi Dench, so
I was going to do it, but because the characters were twins and I wanted to hold on to it, there's almost a decade, because I actually had Helen Mirren written down and she'd do that in a heartbeat, but she's 10 years younger than Judi Dench, and I'm like,
I didn't have them as twins. I was just like, they're just sisters.
Yeah, but they have the same birthday, right?
Yeah,
so
they mentioned that they're twins. They all have the same birthday, so I wanted to keep that intact, just so you could have two killer aunties.
Two of my uncles were born years apart and had the same birthday.
Hey, my roommate has the same birthday as me. I mean, it does happen, but people are skeptical.
Yeah, I know.
It's easier.
Like, I'm just saying,
it's easier to say twins, right?
Yeah.
In my family, there's siblings that this has occurred.
Yeah.
And it can happen, sure.
Yeah, it's just for plot convenience. You don't want to waste time on that. Keep them twins.
Yeah.
Well, I can age. With the makeup. I was thinking of aging them.
This is my casting.
I know.
Back up.
But I was thinking of aging.
All right, so we got Maggie Smith, we got Judi Dench as the grandmas. For Harvey the Arms Dealer, I went with Vincent Cassel.
Okay. Actually, oddly enough, he was somebody I was looking at too.
That.
Because I kind of wanted them to be a little spread out, so I like the idea because the movie had some people with English accents and British accents and American accents. I kind of wanted to hold on to that because it shows that they have spread out across the world and found their own ways for the most part. But I kept a lot of them British. But yeah. So if you're not familiar with Vince Castle, Black Swan, Westworld, for Fred, because he did have some funny moments and I would like to see him in a less lovable role just to see if he could do it, I went with Nick Frost.
Nice.
Because this is an Edgar Wright movie. You got to have him.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. At least for my movie is an Edgar Wright movie. For Radu the Butler, I went with Maz Jobrani, and he's in a movie called Dragonfly. Kate Ashfield, I did as Erica, the older lesbian. She was in Shaun of the Dead. For the younger one that I've nicknamed Angel, the young lesbian that sleeps with Roger, I went with Anya Taylor-Joy because she actually winds up being a bit of a star later on because she's one of the few people that survives the film. So it gives it a little star power, right? For Roger, I needed a young guy who could do an American accent and, fancy car. So I went with Baby Driver actor Ansel Elgort.
Okay.
Yeah. For Jessica, is that Jessica's the mom?
No, Helen's
Jessica's
the mom.
the spoiled one. Helen's the mom.
Okay. Not sure we got that right. Whatever. For the mom, I don't care who she is at this point.
Yeah.
I went with Laura Pulver. She was Irene Adler in Sherlock, and she had a recurring role in The Alienist as well. For Father Percival, I went with Mark Gatiss from League of Gentlemen, who's a good writer in his own right. Maybe he could write the script. For John, the dad, I went with Martin Freeman from Sherlock.
Nice.
For Helen, I went with Michelle Gomez from Doom Patrol, and she played Missy on Doctor Who. And she was in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina as well.
Okay.
For the cook, I went with Jessica Hines, also from Shaun of the Dead. For the maid, I went with Emma Appleton. And
Okay, I thought about her.
yeah, Lola and Witcher. For Bertha, again, she survives, and I wanted to have somebody who could do matronly, but kind of step up later on. Oscar winner Sally Hawkins.
There you go.
I almost did that. Almost.
Shape of Water if you're not sure, or Godzilla if you're really not sure. For the little kid Susie, the daughter who gets her legs cut off and then bleeds out, Floris Hunt from Bridgerton. And for Gilbert, her brother, Roman Griffin from Jojo Rabbit. And that's it. That's all I remembered to do.
You did the kids. We don't do kids.
I know, but I wanted to really show you up.
There you go. Well, you did a good job. So I didn't do Alice or the kids.
And I almost didn't do the kid. Like, I clearly didn't do Alice because, oh, no, I did. The maid. Yeah. I just didn't know what her name was.
Yeah.
Okay, Sam.
Okay.
We'll let the birthday girl go last.
Yeah, and I think I'm the one who went with an American cast, so I don't mind going in the middle. For my Roger, who I just had as a young guy because I never did catch his name, I went with Max Greenfield from The New Girl.
Nice.
Because he does Obnoxious so well.
Mm-hmm.
He really does.
For Helen, the mother, I did Gina Malone. For her husband, I went with Matt LeBlanc for John.
Oh. Thought he's retired from acting.
No, he's been working still.
Okay. I haven't seen him.
Yeah.
It's fantasy casting at this point. And we're not
Exactly.
getting him. We're not getting him.
So for Erica, who I thought was the younger lesbian, I went with Juno Temple. For my Harvey, the arms dealer, I went with Vince Vaughn.
Okay. Yep.
And for Fred, I went with his old partner, John Favreau.
Nice. Yeah.
For Father Percival, I went with Rainn Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to save my Elizabeth and Victoria for last. For my Bertha, much like you, I wanted somebody who could play matronly or spinsterishly, but still sort of come out strong at the end. I went with Vera Farmiga. For my Rachel, I went with Rooney Mara.
Mm-hmm.
For my Jessica, I went with Micah Monroe from It Follows.
Okay.
For my Radu, Alan Tudyk.
Yep. I like
Nice.
that.
For my cook, Kathy Baker.
Nice.
And then for my grannies, aunties, Elizabeth Victoria, I went with Carol Kane and Annie Potts.
Nice.
And then for my director, I went with Brian James O'Connell, the director of Bloodsucking Bastards. Because he does gore and comedy very, very well.
Yeah.
It's very good. It's a funny movie.
Yeah. Okay, good. I like it. I mean, we're both kind of have, well, you got a more comedic cast than I do, but mine's borderline where they all can do comedic.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Okay. And I mean, this is where I know Trish will shine because.
I don't know about that.
This is horror comedy. Okay. Blue Sky is fine as long as we're not getting anybody from obscure stage plays.
No. Hey, when I cast my cast, it's my cast. I get to do that.
She makes movies for herself.
I do. I honestly, at a certain point, I was like, I could play one of the aunties. I literally thought that, but I didn't do it.
And you know why I didn't do American Cast, Sam?
No.
Because there's no real castles in America.
That's true, but they still have palatial estates.
Oh, they definitely have big estates.
Yeah, especially if you get into that East Coast, New York and Connecticut area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to stick with Gothic, but yeah. I mean, it definitely works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, me keeping New England let me go with a bit of more international cast too.
Well, we can always go to Marolaga too, right?
Yeah. Well, it could be up for sale soon.
To pay bills of some kind?
Maybe. Legal bills. So, Trish.
Cough.
Yeah. What do you got?
All right. For the aunties, Elizabeth and Victoria, I went with Emma Thompson and Helena Bonham Carter.
Helena Bonham Carter was another one that crossed my mind.
I thought about it. I was like, oh man, this would be a shame not to use her. but I was really torn. I'm like, oh, as much as I love Helena Bonham Carter, she doesn't beat Judi Dench.
No.
True. She doesn't.
If you're going to stunt cast, you stunt cast with Judy. Yeah.
I stunt cast the shit out of it.
Oh,
And so
I
did you. So
stunt-casted
far,
it.
so far, so good. All right, keep going.
Aged him up. Okay. Helen, the wife with the kids. Daisy Edgar Jones.
Don't know.
From Fresh.
Oh, okay.
And I think it was Where the Crawdads Sing. For her husband, John, Tom Wilkinson. I made him a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is sort of what the cast list came into. Miss Barnstable, who is the cook, Miriam Margolyes. Father Percival, David Thewlis.
Okay.
Ooh, that's good.
Yes. For Rachel, the younger lesbian, Emerald Fennell, who played Camilla in The Crown, because she's like kind of a dead ringer for the woman who actually played her in this movie.
Okay, I know who you're talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for Erica, I went with Jolie Richardson.
Okay.
For Jessica, who is the spoiled wife, I went with Samara Weaving.
Okay.
And then for Fred, her husband, Timothy Spall. Because I wanted to make it seem like, yeah, she definitely married him for money.
Yeah. That's a good way to do it.
Exactly. And then for Susie, I just put played by child.
Yeah, mine will like give them a year, they'll be too damn old.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Gilbert played by child.
Hey, I didn't know we could just do that.
Yeah, you can.
8 years later.
I believe that should be the rule, played by child. For Alice the housekeeper, Imogen Poots.
Okay.
For Bertha, Carrie Mulligan. I went into a weird way with this because I feel she can do mousy, but then kind of come up.
Yeah,
I
totally see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then for Roger the Playboy, Nicholas Holt.
Oh, good. Yeah, I like that.
And then Harvey the arms dealer, I went with Reese Shearsmith from Inside Number 9.
I have to take your word for that one.
I love how we all said Harvey the arms dealer, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harvey the arms dealer. And then I actually cast Christopher because I did want the backstory.
You know,
where he
I
was
regret
Meg
not-
and Jessica.
I regret not casting him, even though he's mentioned. He's actually a pretty important member of the cast for a guy who's actually not shown on screen.
I was still thinking of showing him, but only as a shadowy figure. If we do the thing with Jessica,
Yeah.
right? You just sort of see him in shadow. But it could be
for
like
sure.
a famous voice.
Nolan North. That's my
Nice.
voice.
There we go.
What about you, Sam?
Who's
Do you
got
want to hear mine and then you can think of one?
Sure.
Okay, I made him Mark Strong.
Good.
There we go.
Good voice if we keep him even in the shadows, but even if he's not, he looks evil.
Okay, just because I'm watching Justified again, I'd go with Timothy Oliphant for my Christopher.
Oh, nice.
All right.
He could be very seductive. I would get it.
Yeah.
Great cast all around.
And then for Radu, Philip Jackson. And he played Grampy on the British TV series Raised by Wolves.
Okay.
And for my director, I had several ideas because I kind of know they kind of work well together. David Kerr did a lot of episodes of Inside Number 9, and they're kind of gothic horror comedy. So it's sort of what I wanted to encompass. Like I'm with you, Jay. I want to have that gothic feel.
Right. This is one of the few times where I think you and I are probably more in sync than Sam and I.
Yes.
In our
One of the rare times.
well, I think our horror tastes are a little more lined up than I am with Sam's.
Yeah.
But great cast all around. I'd see our
It's
movie
Blue
based on the
Sky.
cast. Yeah, we know this isn't happening. I mean, sure, we've seen a lot of people get slaughtered in cabins, houses, mansions by demonic forces, but have we seen it with elderly grandmas?
No.
No, we haven't.
No. And honestly, that was the appeal. This is why I made this choice. I like the fact that kindly little grannies are just slaughtering people, and
This
it's
is the
hilarious
thing we
to
know,
me.
Trish. But I distinctly remember your glee over Bingo Hell.
Yeah, you know what? I watched that not
Yep.
that long ago. I watched that recently.
Mhm.
It's okay.
But the old lady who's rude, she's very fun. I like
honestly,
her.
if it didn't have such a strong cast, that movie would have sucked.
Oh, it would have been bad, but it's really good.
That one's
with the
saved
cast.
by the cast for sure.
Mhm.
And that's what we're trying to do. Save it with a cast.
Save it with a cast
and a subplot.
and a subtext. Yeah.
A subtext. I'm not sure it was there, but I think it was there. Sam picked up on something that
Yeah.
after 2 viewings, I still didn't pick up on. And
Well,
maybe,
like
or
we
maybe
say-
he's just pareidolia and he's projecting onto the movie, but it works, and it certainly works for ours.
Well, like I said, I picked up on one moment of it, and then you fed me a couple more. I'm like, no, it is there.
Yeah,
Well,
once
like
you
we
fired
say,
my brain.
in better hands, it can be very clear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, this movie had a budget of $150,000.
It was all special effects because nobody got paid.
Yeah.
It probably was mostly equipment.
Yeah.
But yeah, if nobody got paid, I'm hoping the special effects guys got paid. Damn.
Yeah.
Because they stepped up.
Well, those guys get paid up front, don't they? Oh.
Yeah. IMDb gave it a 4.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes does not have enough critic scores to give it a score, but there is enough for an audience score, and I am unsure which version they saw. So, based on shoulder shrugs and of what they may have seen, what do you think the audience score on this was? Here's the one part of the game we get to play.
You did say it has a bit of a cult following,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean it's rated high. I'm going to go with 28%.
43.
Oh, you are blue skying this. 36%, which is, I think, is also pretty high.
Yes.
All things considered. But in my own personal taste, having watched 2 versions of this movie in one sitting, I'd give the 67-minute cut a 2 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
I'd give the 90-minute cut a 4.5 out of 10.
So, aggregate middle, 36.
36.
There you go.
There you go.
That's not really good math, but close enough.
Sure.
It's close. It's an estimate. It's
Right.
a guesstimate.
Yeah, just maybe more people saw the 90-minute version, that's all.
Yeah. I can't believe they were thinking of a sequel with Bertha, but we could have her. Well, I don't know if would she be out there punishing the sins at this point? Because she was also a pretty sinful person as herself, so.
Yeah.
Well, no, and that's the thing is
She slaughtered a cab driver.
well, and yeah, as a demon though.
Yeah.
Right. No, I think when you think about it, they never really covered her sins. I mean, her only sin was judgment, right? Which makes her
I think
perfect.
it would be hubris.
Yeah.
She thinks that she's more pious and better than everybody
Well, and hey,
else.
she's also rich.
Yeah.
Well, she will be rich. I
Yeah.
guess she's not rich,
Yeah.
but the list of heirs just got really short.
Yes, and
Oh, yeah.
that makes her perfect to be the next possessed because of her
Yeah.
hubris, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Her arrogance and her willing to judge others.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering what that would be. I mean, it didn't take her much to kill the cab driver.
She goes and meets up with Christopher.
But, you know,
That'd be the thing.
her transformation was kind of kicking in at that point.
Yeah, hers was a lot slower.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, they projected pretty good. The gas is getting in her face. She's
Yeah.
coughing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You kind of know it's coming.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know it's coming. You just took a lot longer for it to kick in,
Yeah.
right? Because the Grannies happened like almost instantaneously, and Bertha
Yeah.
was, I mean, most likely actually hours later. Because when police show up, they don't let you get into a cab and drive away.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's the whole thing. The demon is smart enough to know when it can come out.
Yeah, yeah. She was just hiding under that mask.
Yep.
Okay, we're remaking a sequel that was never made.
No, we're making it for the first time.
There we go.
Yes, exactly.
Bonus material.
Yeah, we remade the original. We're just making the sequel. Full stop.
Because we think that our remake was good enough to warrant a sequel.
Anti-possession
Yeah,
2.
I'm straightening my shirt cuffs right now. You know, we're that
Yeah.
good.
Well, speaking of shirts, I hate to tell you something, Sam.
What?
Your shirt sucks. So maybe you need to go on to our website
Oh, invasionoftheremake.wixsite.com/podcast.
and get yourself a much classier shirt.
I have one or two or more of our shirts.
And you can get a whole lot more. There's actually over 70 designs on that website, Sam.
Yes, there are.
And so you can get a whole new wardrobe over there of t-shirts, hoodies. You can even get mugs, posters, pillows, PPE masks, notebooks, totes, and a whole lot more by going to the website. And did you know it actually supports the show too?
Is it funny how that works?
Except when we buy it, then we're buying it with our own money, and then it's kicking back to us. It doesn't.
It's like an extended discount. I don't know.
But our audience can do that too. If you get a shirt that sucks, come on, look at your shirt. Kind of sucks, doesn't it? But we got some really cool ones. Go check them out. You're going to love them, and you're going to look cool. Your friends are going to be like, hey, where'd you get that shirt? That's kind of awesome.
Uh-huh.
And you can tell them where to find it. Go to the website, go to TeePublic, buy something of ours, and it gives us a little something too. It helps keep the show going.
Yes.
So we appreciate that. And now that I've insulted your shirt, maybe you should get some revenge by saying, hey, you know what? I'm not like these guys with their mean-spirited. I'm going to say something nice to them. I'm going to do something nice for them, make them feel better about themselves, even though they've dissed my shirt You can tell them how to find the show, tell them to listen to the show. It's pretty cool, right? Right. Give us a 5-star rating and a short review over on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. And it helps get more
earballs
on the show. Also, you can follow us on our social media at Invasion Remake on Twitter, Invasion of the Remake on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
And TikTok.
Sam will do a funny little dance on there.
No, I won't.
In his really grooving IOTR shirt.
Yeah, you might see like me do my shirt. You're not going to see anything else, and certainly no groovy dancing.
No TikTok dances for Sam. Maybe we'll get Trish to do one.
Oh, well, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I have the talent for TikTok.
No, I don't think I do either. You can also send us your emails, invasionoftheremake@gmail.com, if you want to send us your suggestions, your corrections, and your comments, and of course those fan challenges as well. Can you be as challenging as Rabid Grannies? Maybe. You've sent us some that are just as bad.
Yeah.
Like our very first fan challenge.
Yeah. I mean, Trish is actually standing up to some of our fan challenges at this point with the Rabid Grannies.
Yeah, but I mean, there comes a point sometimes where there's just so much to do. It's fun because we have a lot to do.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I gave you A Night to Dismember. Sam gave us Liquid Sky. And Trish gave us Rabid Grannies. Mm-hmm. And we've had Hard Rock Zombies from our audience. That was probably the wackiest one we did.
Yeah, and it was our very first fan challenge.
Yeah.
Meet the Feebles.
Which we watched together, which was quite amazing.
Yeah. We've done Tanya's Island.
Support your local sheriff was a fan challenge. Yeah, there was quite a few.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had Paint Your Wagon as a fan challenge.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we've had some awesome stuff. You can find all those in our back catalog. And if you were new to the show and you want to do a fan challenge, you can kind of listen back to the kind of things that I have my eye on that might catch my attention. But the general rule is 20-year cutoff. It has to be at least 20 years old. I'm not even going to consider a modern movie. Nothing too good. Like, I mean, dude, I'm not going to remake Scarface. We'll probably cover that on a different show. But, you know, if it's an Oscar winner, I'm probably not going to want to do it. You know, unless nobody wants us to remake Citizen Kane, right?
No, unless you can trick us like Jay tricked himself with last week's episode.
I didn't really trick myself. It was just, I'm a Peter O'Toole fan. The movie had a great premise. I mean, I just didn't realize how good it was.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I mean by you tricked yourself.
Yeah. I saw the rating. I kind of was a little like, oh, this could be tough. So I knew what I was getting into on that. And I mean, I gave us Peeping Tom.
Yeah.
And that movie's perfect.
Yeah.
For what it is. So there wasn't much to do, but sometimes you just want to talk about a movie.
Yeah, sometimes you do. But it's just a good example of how you can, if we're not familiar with it, you might be able to sneak something good by us.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Portrait of Jenny. That was
another
that
good one.
by me.
Portrait of Jenny was good.
Yeah.
But then you can get the wacky ones where there's a leprechaun and there's a love story.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yep. Or a witch.
Yep.
Or an island that nobody should know about, but everybody does.
Yep.
We've had a few. So throw us your fan challenges. And one other rule, be patient. If I say yes, it's basically that's just going on a list. And then we'll pull it when we kind of need to pull it, when we feel it fits the show at that point in time. Some might happen right away. Some might take months. Just be patient. The list doesn't go away. It's there, and I always go back to it. So if you send a suggestion for a future episode, don't worry. We'll get to it if I like the suggestion. And if I don't feel discouraged. If I say no, think of something else, resubmit.
Yeah.
You can submit as many times as you want. And it doesn't mean I'm going to do every idea, but I'll put anything that's good on a list and refer back to it down the road.
Yeah, there's no limit to times you can submit.
That's right. But if I've done 2 or 3, you may not get another one.
And even then,
or I'll
like
spread
maybe.
I'll spread them apart. far
it'll be
apart.
a while.
Yeah. And sometimes that's happened. So where we've gotten such good suggestions, it's like, okay, I got to spread these apart. So I'm not showing favoritism, but they're always good suggestions. So, all right. Well, maybe a hint for next week, maybe?
Sure. I'd like to know what it is because I have no idea what we're doing next week.
I don't.
We're going to be on point next week. Rev up those engines. That's all the hint you're getting. Until then, I've been Jason.
I'm always Sam.
And I continue to be Trish.
And we are out of here.
Come on. Let's not stay here.
And go where? They're always there before us. Look at her. She doesn't even take notice of us. She's enjoying herself. The two of them enjoy a good laugh. They throw guts around like so many slapstick cream pies. Little creatures which can twist and turn in every direction, but can't escape their destiny.